Alright, guys, we have reached most of the quarterfinals in Rome, and that is because 3 out of the 4 quarterfinal matches have been set up, but there is one fourth round match that still needs to be played, which is Rude versus Munar, and it has not been played yet because it was raining today in Rome, and the matches got delayed, and that was going to be the last match played today, but you can't start a match past 11 o'clock p.m., so they delayed that match to tomorrow, and it's going to be played as the first match tomorrow. And once that is through, the winner of that match will be set to play Jannik Sinner in the quarterfinal from the top of the draw, and that will be played on Thursday, I believe. But tomorrow there will be 2 quarterfinal matches played and they are the quarterfinals from the bottom half of the draw. So we have the 3rd seed Carlos Alcaraz taking on the 5th seed Jack Draper, and then we have the 2nd seed Alexander Zverev taking on the 8th seed Lorenzo Musetti. So starting with Alcaraz versus Draper, the head-to-head is 3-2 for Carlos Alcaraz. Of course, they most recently faced each other in Indian Wells, where Draper won in 3 sets. And they also faced in the Australian Open this year, where Alcaraz won after Draper retired after losing the first 2 sets. They have actually never played on clay, so this will be their first meeting on clay. Alcaraz, he defeated Karen Khachanov in the 4th round in 3 sets, and this was actually a very close match, 7-5 in the 3rd set, somewhat surprisingly because Alcaraz had won, I think, 9 sets in a row against Khachanov or something like that in their 4 previous meetings. And this was the first time that Khachanov took a set from him, and he actually got close to winning. Again, he lost 7-5 in the 3rd set, so that was actually a very close match, somewhat surprisingly based on the previous meetings. But Alcaraz still defeated Khachanov once again, and he has now defeated him 5 out of 5 times that they have faced each other. Alcaraz served 66% first serves in. That is pretty good. He had 41 winners and 36 unforced errors, so he does 5 more winners than unforced errors. That is a pretty good number as well. So even though this was a very scrappy match, he still managed to hit more winners than unforced errors. Draper had another scrappy match against Corentin Moutet, the Frenchman. I believe they had never faced each other before. Moutet won the first set 6-1, but Draper came back to win the next 2 sets 6-4, 6-3. So this was another long battle. It was about the same length of time as the Alcaraz-Khachanov match and was going on at pretty much the same time too. Draper served 63% first serves in. That is a little bit too low. I think he will need to get that higher against Alcaraz. He did 23 winners and 31 unforced errors, so he does 8 more unforced errors than winners. That is not that great. Moutet actually did 27 winners and 21 unforced errors, so he actually did better than Draper in this regard. But I actually didn't get to watch that much of the match, so looking at the stats here, it looks like Moutet had more winners than unforced errors in the first set, definitely, because he won 6-1. In the second set, he had 1 more winner than unforced error. He lost that close set 6-4. Then in the final set, he had 6 winners and 7 unforced errors. So Moutet, he doesn't really do a lot of unforced errors because he cannot hit very hard. So a lot of his winning points relies on his defense and getting a lot of balls back into play. So he will not do that many unforced errors, but he will also not do that many winners because he doesn't have that much firepower. He is one of the least hard-hitting players on the tour. But he still did more winners than Draper in this match, actually, and fewer unforced errors. But I guess Draper was a bit more clutch, and he was able to win this in a close 3 sets. I think Alcaraz... So, like I said, Alcaraz and Draper faced twice this year already, most recently in Indian Wells, where Draper won in the semifinals on his way to winning the title, the first Masters 1000 title of his career. I think that Alcaraz will be looking to take his revenge on Draper. And they both played scrappy matches, but I think that Alcaraz is still playing better than Draper. And he is still the better clay court player. So I think that Alcaraz will be hungry for revenge, and I think that he will win this match in straight sets. Then we have the other quarterfinal from the bottom half of the draw, which is the second seed Alexander Zverev against the 8th seed Lorenzo Musetti. The head-to-head is 2-1 for Musetti, 1-love on clay. They faced in the Olympics last year, where Musetti won in 2 close sets. Musetti, who defeated Daniil Medvedev, the washed player, in straight sets, and now it has been 2 years, or will be 2 years officially, since Medvedev has won any title on the ATP Tour. The last title that he won was this tournament, Rome, in 2023, which was a surprise because he is never known for being good on clay. But he won that tournament randomly, after I believe he never won a match in Rome before. He somehow won Rome 2 years ago. That is his only clay court title, and it will most likely remain that way. He then went on to lose the first round of the French Open that very same year. So this was really just an anomaly that he was somehow able to win that Rome tournament 2 years ago. But he has not won a single tournament since then. And I do not even know if he will do that again, because he seems to be getting thoroughly outplayed in all of the matches that he is losing this year. He will have to get a very lucky draw in order to win any title, even a 250. Even in the 250s he played this year, he still got outplayed. So he has to get a very lucky draw, either that or he has to play better. But it is somewhat hard to see him doing that, because he is more towards the end of his career than the beginning of his career. Let's face it. I think he will be 29 years old this year, which is not super old, but it is still, when you get into that age, you start to decline. Of course, he can definitely win some title at some point in his career, just by the sheer fact that he will keep playing many tournaments over and over. Eventually, he might win some small tournament again, but it doesn't look very good for him so far this year. But anyway, Musetti defeated him in straight sets. The match was interesting because at the very end of the match, when Musetti was serving for it at 5-4 in the second set, it began to rain hard. And it was 5-4 30 all, and the rain was coming down hard. And they were playing a long point, and everyone was putting up their umbrellas and putting on their ponchos. And Musetti, the evil guy that he is, apparently, he does a drop shot in the rain to make Medvedev run for that and risk breaking his ankles. But I don't blame him for that, actually. I think that was probably a smart thing to do. You gotta utilize the conditions in your favor. But you could see Medvedev after that, he was just soaked in the rain. It was quite funny. You could hear and see the rain coming down during that point. That is probably the most rain I've ever seen a professional tennis point to be played in. And then, when it got to match point for Musetti, since the rain was coming down so hard, they decided that they couldn't play another point. So they suspended the match, and then we had to wait like 3 hours or so, if not more. And then Musetti won that match point, and the match was completed. Musetti served 60% first serves in. That is not that good. He will want that to be higher against Zverev. He hit 19 winners and 15 unforced errors, so he does 4 more winners than unforced errors. That, however, is pretty good. Zverev, on the other hand, he defeated Artifice in straight sets, which he will be quite happy with, given that Fils defeated him this year in Miami. 73% first serves in for Zverev. As usual, a high percentage of first serves, which we have come to expect from Zverev over the years. 19 winners and 19 unforced errors. So a solid performance from Zverev in the winners unforced errors department. Not too many unforced errors or too many winners either. This match is a bit of a toss-up. I believe that it can go either way, but I will just give my slight edge to Zverev. And I think Zverev will win this match in 3 sets, but I will not be surprised at all if Musetti wins this match. After all, he beat him on clay, and they're only meeting on clay last year in 2 close straight sets. So I think that this match really can go either way. So if Musetti wins, again, not surprised at all. But I will just give my slight edge to Zverev. And I will have him winning in 3 sets. So I think the semifinal from the bottom half of the draw will be the 2nd seed Alexander Zverev against the 3rd seed Carlos Alcaraz. And you could say the intended semifinal, number 2 versus number 3. And that will be a potentially interesting match with Zverev trying to defend his title here in Rome. So after the Ruud Munar match finishes tomorrow, I will then upload my prediction of the quarterfinals from the top half of the draw. One of them is already set, of course, which is Tommy Paul versus Hubert Hurkacz, but we need to see who Sinner will be facing after the conclusion of Ruud versus Munar. But for now, I think that Alcaraz will defeat Draper in straight sets, and Zverev will defeat Musetti in 3 sets, and we will have a semifinal match from the bottom half of the draw between Alexander Zverev and Carlos Alcaraz in Rome.